Welcome to Through Deep Waters, the Young Nations podcast, where we are podcasting and we are the Young Nation. Today, we have a special guest. This guest is very special, and let me tell you why. Why is he special?
Bucket hat, everything.
You know the vibes?
If you had the name, another name, your name would be Vibes.
No, Patrick, come on.
Okay, you have story time already, bro.
It has to be Patrick.
Hold on. Story time already. So, okay, I'm a third year student and they're fifth year students. They've been friends since first year. You can talk about the story of how you met in a second. But when I first came to this country, Zayd was like, yo, Hussein, come, let's play football with me and a couple of my friends. And I met a lot of his friends that day. Hold on, this pop filter needs to go up a little bit.
You're good.
And I met a lot of his friends that day. And upon talking to this man right here, I haven't said your name.
It's Patrick.
Upon talking to this man right here, I introduced myself. I was like, yo, man, Hussein, what's your name? He's like, Patrick. Then I was like, stone cold, straight face. He was like, Patrick. So, and then after I was talking to Zayd, I said something about him. I was like, yo, Patrick is he's like a nice guy. And then Zayd looked at me. He's like, who the fuck is Patrick, yo?
This guy, it didn't strike me that it was you.
Yeah, how would it?
What's your name?
P Money. You get
Parth.
me?
His name is Parth Shah.
Parth Shah.
Yo. No need for middle names, fam.
Give me away his whole government name.
Yeah, I know,
If the ops want you, they have him. Okay.
The ops? Come on, yo. I'm not a fighter. Unless it's Luke, but I'm not a fighter.
Shout out Luke.
Shout out to Luke.
Tell him you're getting bodied. Parth is having his first
Straight up.
boxing match.
Yeah, so
KO.
actually that's hilarious because now it's like, you know, when two people get so interested in, I don't know, guys will relate to this, when two guys get so interested in like boxing or like a combat sport
Or wrestling.
and they start talking trash to each other and they both know that they're not about it, but the trash talk has reached a certain level that their manhood's not letting either of them back down. Right? That's basically what happened with Parth and Luke.
Have you ever been in a situation where you don't want to fight, but now you just have to fight?
That's it. Like, you're either
It just has to happen.
You just have to.
You're either gonna beat someone or you're gonna get beaten.
Zayd knows about being
We
beaten.
digress. More importantly, because as close as I consider Parth to be as a friend to me, I feel like Zayd and Parth are closer of friends. And I believe maybe we should highlight how they met and how they became friends and how Parth entered the wonderful life of Zayd.
Okay, before that, let's first introduce Parth. Who's Parth? Introduce yourself. What names do you go by?
I go by Parth, P Money,
Patrick.
King LeBron, King Kendrick Lamar. You know, those are my dads actually. And just kidding. Patrick.
You forgot the most important one.
Number one bullshit guy.
DJ Blackmail.
Oh, yeah, man's a DJ Loki, DJ Blackmail.
Yeah. Check his playlist on Spotify, Parth Shah. Fire playlist.
DJ Blackmail, no space.
Only if you want Afrobeats. This guy only has one genre. And
No. That's cap.
No. Don't
I
start.
got grime music.
Every time he takes the speaker, it's his speaker, so he takes the speaker often. It's always Afrobeat is nice to an extent.
Listen. We're in Canada, yeah? We need to dance because, man, this shit is depressing. So I need Afrobeat.
That's
But I listen to
yourself,
hip hop. I
Man,
listen
don't
to
dance.
grime music, Afro reggaeton.
What's that, reggaeton?
You know the vibes.
Yeah.
Fair
Everything, fam. Everything, literally.
Say less. Where do you
sometimes
come from?
Bollywood
What
too.
country do you come from?
So here's the thing. Yeah, I know all this controversy gonna be started, so I gotta clear the air.
Okay.
Man was born and raised in Uganda, KLA.
Where are you
Uganda.
from?
The 256.
Okay, where are you from?
My parents are Indian.
That was such shame.
No.
My parents are Indian.
They're Indian, yo, straight up. It is what.
No, shout out India, shout out Uganda.
Shout out
Yeah.
India. I love India so much.
Shout
Yeah,
out
yo.
Uganda.
Bollywood is where it's at, man. Where else can you kill a man with a banana? Like, don't chat to me.
But you have to also understand that in Uganda there's a lot of Indian or let's call it South Asian people that have immigrated to East Africa in general, and Uganda specifically in Parth's case, and they became East African and Ugandan, right? So
Yeah.
you consider Ugandan the same way anybody else is considered Ugandan.
It's literally like Canada, where like people come from everywhere.
True.
Yo,
They can
there's
get
even,
sit
like,
in their ship, and then you
in
become first gen, second gen, whatever.
In Kenya, there's Arabs like me and you, Hussein, that are Kenyan.
Really?
Kenyan, and they don't. If you ask them where they're from, they tell I'm from Kenya. And what Arab country are you from? Kenya. That's how they answer.
That's crazy.
But it's also you gotta understand like the accepting nature of the country itself.
Anyways,
Good
yeah.
luck, Zayd.
Enough chit chat. Basically, the idea we got Parth here with us, and me and Hussein are here. Obviously, I want to talk about. So this is being recorded now, 22nd December or 21st December. It just became 22nd. It's 1 a.m. I don't know why we have a habit to record these podcasts that late,
So
but
late.
essentially, we're about to basically enter another lockdown in Ontario, right?
Shout out Omicron.
The world.
Omicron.
Yo, you know what I just noticed? Which makes this even more fitting to have Parth on the podcast. Okay, I'm going to give away the topic of the podcast. Do you mind, Zaid? We're going to speak about COVID and how we adapted and responded to COVID. And I just realized that it makes it even more fitting that the first ever lockdown and the first COVID that happened, we had a very small circle, right?
Parth was part of it.
Parth was part of it.
Do you
And
remember?
I just feel like that just makes it like, even more
Yeah,
cool. that he's
way
on
back
the
when you were
podcast.
staying in that house and we used to come and I used to slap you in ping
I
pong.
borrowed your bike for like 2 weeks, bro.
This guy said, smack me a ping pong.
All I'm saying is I'm undefeated in 2021.
Don't.
And against Parth. And I have a winning record against
You're
you.
better. No, you're better than me. But don't disrespect me by saying you're undefeated.
He beat you and then I beat him. Right after.
Parth,
But how
I
many
hope
times
no
did I
one
play
takes
you?
you seriously in ping pong. We didn't.
Anyways,
This-
we're digressing a bit too much. Like we're talking a bit too much. Ping pong, we'll settle that score later.
Ping
but
pong, bada bing bong.
Bing bong.
Bing bong, Joe Byron,
Point is, first COVID happened, 2019.
2020, March 2020,
2019.
March 2020, was
March
the
2020.
last
Are
year.
you sure?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's called COVID-19 because it started like December 19 or something. But like
Oh, you're right.
it came into effect like March.
Oh my God,
March
it's not even
2020.
been that long, bro. Why does it feel like 6 years?
It's 2 years, fam. It's not a short time.
It's because you were born 6
That's
years
one of
ago.
the side effects that we're gonna talk about with the pandemic. That's what it is.
But
right?
yeah, when it happened, so everything started shutting down. I had booked my ticket to fly back home. So I remember this very well. I was supposed to fly back home on the 18th. I booked my ticket around like the 15th, right? And I was like, okay, I'm
18th
gonna
March,
leave.
18th April.
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 And I was supposed to leave 3 days later. And then the UAE government comes out and says, we're closing the borders on the 18th at midnight. I was going to land on the 18th at like 2 a.m., which means my flight got canceled. Borders are closed. I'm stuck for a couple of months. All restaurants are closed. Gyms are closed. I wasn't even in uni because it was summer. I couldn't get a job because everything is closed. I had nothing to do. Nothing. All I had was Zaid, who was working, he had co-op, and Parth, who was not always free, you know? So I literally, like, for me, I had that, like, 3-month period of what the hell do I do? You know, that first 3 months, I was just like...
Shout out Faro. Faro was also part of that circle.
Farah was part of that
Yeah.
circle, shout out.
But yeah, so basically we just like, we got stuck. I was the one, you were the one who was more dying to go back to UAE to be with family,
You know, no one knows this.
right? But
When I landed in Dubai, not when I landed, when I saw the city, bear in mind, I'm not emotional at all. You guys can attest this. I literally am not an emotional person. I burst into tears in the airplane.
really,
Dead ass, bro.
it was that deep for you.
It was so deep. I got back to Dubai and just instant. And well, I never cried. The time before that, the last time I cried was when my grandfather passed away. Like I only cry in
Allah
serious
yarhamhu
situations.
fa'al.
Allah yarhamhu ya Rab. But like I don't cry. I just saw Dubai. I just went. I remember there's like 2 people sitting next to me. I was like with tears everywhere and everything. And then
I
she
never
looked at
knew
me
about
like,
this.
Huh? Nobody knew about this.
We should do this podcast more often. I'll find out more about my brother.
No, I think we should just make him cry one day.
You'll never
That's
make
the
me cry.
goal.
Dude. If you can cut off my arm, I won't cry.
Yeah?
I'm mad. I don't have emotions.
Anyways, yeah. So I think you're the one who wanted to go home more than me. I was super hesitant. I was more. So we got the 2 responses, like the typical responses that you get to the pandemic within our family. So you got the one, Hussein, who was like, this will be over soon. I don't care. COVID-19 is fake. It'll be done. Whatever. I'm not taking vaccine
I was an anti-vaxxer for like a month, by the way.
for a
No
month.
way,
Yeah, he
actually?
lasted.
Dead ass.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So he.
But it was like out of lack of education. As soon as I read up on it, I went and got vaccinated. Hashtag team get vaccinated. I'm getting my booster shot too. Hashtag get your booster shot.
Moderna gang.
Pfizer, BioNTech.
Yo, am I gonna
Yo,
die
when
because I'm
people-
AstraZeneca?
When people
You
shout out,
AstraZeneca?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's over for me. I'm growing my 6th limb now.
yo, when people shout out Pfizer, they don't shout out BioNTech, and I don't know why, but that makes me angry.
What the hell is BioNTech?
It's the second company that does it with Pfizer. It's like a partnership.
Alright.
That's like who shouts out Steve Wozniak, bro?
Honestly,
Who
that's
cares
just
about Steve
that's just bad marketing, you know. That's
Honestly.
all about marketing.
Honestly, but yeah. So Hussein was like super anti. Oh, COVID is done. Zaid, I'm just gonna fly home. I don't care about restrictions. I don't care if things get shut down. I'll just take my chances and go. And I was like, no, I have my life in Canada. I'm not going back home. And then things get shut down. Then I'll be stuck there. I'm not doing that. And we had that. And basically that like disconnect caused us to have a delay in response to the pandemic to where we couldn't book the flight. And now we were stuck in Canada. I loved it. He didn't like it. Right?
No, I'll be honest. I didn't hate it. I did not hate it.
We
I
had a
got
good
to
time. We had a
point
good time.
By June, weather was getting good. People were back in Waterloo, and we were playing football out.
You flew out in June.
I flew out in July, 14th of July. But yeah, June and half of July, I was like playing football every day. I was playing shirtless every day. There were no women there. I was playing shirtless every day, and I got the nicest tan of my life. So when I went back to Dubai, I was like, bronze, But no, honestly, I was stuck in between two worlds, because when I finally like made it to leave, I was like, damn, I'm actually having fun here, Like a part of me wants to stay. I'm actually really enjoying myself.
It took you time to adjust, but you adjusted.
I was like, I'm telling you guys, it's like we live two lives, When you're like,
You told me this yesterday.
an international student, you live two lives. It's like everything's different when you're here. You have a whole set of things here, and you have a whole set of things wherever you're from.
Even in the context of COVID-19, like the way you live here is different from the way you live at home, I'm sure, right?
For sure.
So Parth, you went to UG. What was the timeline for you?
No, so
UG's
I actually had a similar thing to you, where
You were stuck for a while too.
when COVID hit, the Ugandan borders, like, they completely shut. Because I delayed to go.
Yeah.
Because it happened, like, I wanted to finish my exams first before I go. And by the time I finished my exams, they said we're closing the borders to everyone. So the borders fully closed. I was here. I had a co-op in Toronto, my first co-op in Toronto. It got cancelled. So now I'm sitting in the summer.
So co-op is a temporary job you get as part of your university, basically.
If you're
It's
smart
like an
enough to do
internship.
co-op. I didn't do co-op because I chose that I'm way too smart for that.
Sure.
Anyways,
But basically, my co-op got cancelled, but thanks to the government of Canada, I got served money to survive.
Did you have to pay it back?
No.
Really?
Yeah. No.
he's the one that got away, Parth, huh?
Well, actually, we got to clip that, just in case they catch it.
Yeah, but
But basically, yeah. So I got my job cancelled, and I was here, not like no school or no work. So I was like, what do I do now?
How long
So
was
how-
That was for 4 months,
let
the
me
whole summer.
let me pose a question to you then in that context. So how did you guys both deal with transition? Because we, like, prior to the thing, we were living, right? Like, prior to the shutdown, we were like going hard, doing everything. No, we didn't know what lockdown was. We didn't know how to live like this. We were just going normal, and then suddenly, in a snap of a second, it was complete stop. How did that affect your guys' everyday life, and how did you handle it, strategize ways to keep yourself sane and live your life?
Fortnite and sleep.
100%.
I'm telling you.
I played so much Fortnite, bro.
So much.
Brooklyn Nine, Community.
Community.
Yeah,
Oh,
shout
yeah.
out, shout out Community. Is it that show?
Yeah,
so-
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That was
Yeah.
fire. But like on the real though, like Fortnite actually helped me stay in touch with people.
Exactly. Bro, I didn't care about the game.
I sucked at the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I
You just
sucked
play
at
so
the
you can
game.
talk to the other people that are stuck in other countries
Exactly.
or who have made it back.
And there was
home or
apps like
whatever.
House Party and all these like random apps.
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
could, like,
Yeah,
talk to people.
House Party popped off. It made it
It's
come
not a
back.
real party,
Yeah.
Mama and Baba.
It's an app. It's an
It's an
app.
application. It's called House Party. It's like a calling application. Wallah. Sorry.
So, so, yeah. So it was like, I think, and there was a second because I was working at the time when the things shut down. So I was on my co-op, and I think with co-op it took a little bit of time for things to catch up because they didn't have the infrastructure set up for us to get back to work or for like from online or to do like the same thing that we were doing but remotely. So our duties were reduced a little bit to the capacity of whatever like tasks we could be given remotely, right? So that was also a big effect because now my whole job day is affected. I had to figure out and set up a workspace. I was staying in Scarborough, shout out Scarborough.
We need to stop saying shout out for everything, bro. Shout outs only are for special people.
I enjoyed my time in Scarborough. That
Scarborough's
was special
special.
to me. I liked it.
Shout out my phone case because it protects my phone.
Anyways, so I was staying there, and then I decided that I didn't want to stay there anymore. I wanted to go back to Waterloo just because my friends were there and stuff. Parth, Farah, and everybody was in Waterloo. So I was like, what am I doing in Toronto by myself, right? Let me go. I went, and I had to figure out. I didn't have accommodation in Waterloo. I had to finesse like one of the rooms in my. So I was subletting my room, but one of the other rooms in that apartment was free. I had to finesse going in there. I had to, figure out like a workspace that I could work from, a monitor that I could use. It was a whole bunch of stuff that I had to figure out, and that was really challenging. But I think if you're like, again, like, you just have to be resourceful about it. Like, okay, you have duties, whatever, you're getting paid to do your job. It might be worthwhile investing in a couple things just to be able to do it better, right? So I invested, I finessed, I took your TV. Hussein has a TV. I took his TV and I used it as a monitor for my work. And I just worked like that.
Yo, what did I use in the meantime? I didn't play PlayStation, did I?
Yeah, no, you
took my PlayStation from me.
No.
What
I
a
gave you
brother.
a monitor. Do you remember?
Sure?
Yeah, I gave you a monitor. You were
Okay.
playing PlayStation.
But yeah, honestly, I think the best thing that we could learn from COVID was to make the best of what we have.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, no matter what this, like, because these are new situations coming to our, like, in our life.
Yeah.
And we just had to make the best out of it. Like, things did not work out for everyone. Honestly, no, it didn't work out for anyone.
Don't count the days. Make the days count.
Yeah, everyone has heard that. But anyways, the main point.
See, even Parth knows about your lame cliche bars.
Why, bro?
It's fine.
As soon as you put your finger up, I knew what was going on. I knew it. Like, okay, there's the bar coming.
Yeah.
But
Take the
I
bus,
think,
don't drive.
how do you feel? So how do you guys feel now that, like, we're entering? So this, I don't know about you, but this right now, December 2022, anyone? December 2022.
Wait.
Wait.
Yo, I'm sorry.
My name's Jeff.
Whoever's watching this, I'm so sorry because we're literally just laughing and not
It's
even
him, bro.
podcasting at the moment.
It's him editing everything.
No, that's fine. We're talking, but so basically, what was it?
My name's Jeff.
Okay, no, here's my question, right?
No,
Okay.
I had a question.
Sorry, I'll ask
Okay,
you a question.
let me ask the question. Right now, December 2021 feels a lot like March 2020. Don't you agree? Like,
100%.
for me, it just feels like this is the second that. So we're in Ontario. Quebec announced the lockdown yesterday. BC announced it today, right?
Different provinces.
Different
inside
provinces in Canada. I feel like this Friday, Ontario announces the lockdown.
Canada. 100%. 100%.
How are you
If
feeling?
it doesn't, we have it on camera. If by the time this is out, Ontario is not in lockdown, I will personally say sorry for being wrong. I don't know what you guys were expecting me to say.
Yeah, no. So, how are you guys, like, feeling with it in terms of, like, handling it, flashing back, getting deja vu? Do you feel a sense of despair with it? Because I certainly feel despair because it feels like we're back in square one with the new Omicron variant, there's evading vaccines and stuff.
Don't you feel better prepared this time? Let me explain why.
Kind of, but not really.
Parth, you're traveling on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
And me and Zayd, alhamdulillah wa shukr, we have booked our tickets
Just before this recording.
just right before recording this.
Today
We are
is,
traveling.
today is basically Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday. We're traveling on Saturday. I feel like, and I don't want to knock on wood, and I don't cross my fingers, and I don't want to jinx this, man. I really don't want to jinx this. But I feel like we're ahead of the game this time, in the sense that we're not booking our tickets to go home too late. You know.
At least if we lock
We're
down
learning from our
everywhere,
mistakes.
if we lock down worldwide, we get to be with our families. Because uni's
Exactly.
online anyway, right? So
We get to be with our family, and I have a car to drive, and we get to be with our family.
Yeah, because I think the biggest thing with like this whole COVID situation is like the uncertainties of things.
you need to learn to ride that wave.
Like not knowing what's gonna happen because you can't predict it. That's the thing that like annoys everyone the most, and like that's the thing that challenges everyone the most. Is like you're trying to predict what the government's gonna do, what the situation's gonna be,
The government has no idea.
and you
what
have
it's
to
gonna do.
react to that, and that's just like impossible. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's just impossible. So you just have to make the best decisions in the moment and pray to God it just works out.
No, for sure. Like,
We
and
also
where
have to
would you
recognize
rather? Where would you
pattern.
rather get stuck? Right? Like, where would you rather get stuck?
Where would you rather get stuck?
Here, in, like, especially us. Okay, Parth's an international student. We're not international, but our family lives abroad, right? So, where would you rather get stuck in a country by yourself, or would you rather get stuck with your family? And more to that, I think Parth, me and you is like another situation too, because it's our last semester.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but I had a thing where it's like, okay, my last semester, things look like they're opening back up. I wanted to have a nice last semester, go back in person, meet everybody from my program, get to have that in-person experience one last time before we went. Yeah, so basically what I was saying is me and you had a different angle to it because we have our last semester here. And sure, like, I had a very big build-up, and I think you might have had one too, of like last semester we wanted to get together with all our people from our program, everybody from uni, and just reconnect with everyone just to have that in-person experience one last time because we missed most of our undergrad with COVID, right?
Yeah.
So when the news came out for the Omicron variant, we kind of grasped at the reports that, it's less severe. Hopefully they won't lock us down because it's less severe. Then lockdowns are happening, cases are rising. There was a sense of big disappointment. Like, as much as we try to rationalize and be understanding of the public health circumstance, you get disappointed, right? Like, damn, you're missing your whole circle that you're looking forward to that you've not seen in years, by the way, right? How did that make you feel? And how did you like cope with that? Just even the realization.
Yeah, honestly, like everyone wants to finish university with a bang, you know? It's your last year. You want to like savor it, like finish off strong and like just enjoy the moments that you think may not come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But university is about the people at the end of the day, especially at Waterloo. So we got to make sure that even after COVID, you know, you have those things still. It's like what is the factors of university that keep you going? It's like the things you do with your friends, the activities,
Yeah, the fun
and
you
the
have.
liveliness of like the nature of it, you know, where everyone's in the same area, so you end up doing like all the hype things together.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can create that after you graduate too, you know, I don't think you've lost that much. Especially in a situation like this, as I said, it's about making the best of what you got.
And we got a good two and a half years of non-COVID. It's like
Yeah.
half our degree, right?
The thing is as well, like, not to brag, Waterloo's hard, man. Waterloo's hard. Okay, like, especially for someone, like, he's in mechatronic engineering. He's the smart one in our friend group. But, like, for someone who has to endure so much mental stress through studies, like, interviews, everything. You really need a break and an escape through your social life, your activities, whatever it may be, you know? Me personally, I seem to be getting away with doing less work. I'm a lot better now. I work a lot harder now. But like back my first 5 semesters, I didn't put that much work in. So like this doesn't apply to me because I was just vibes everywhere. But Parth, like, how are you passing mechatronics? Going through like the entire process of university in engineering. By the way, Waterloo engineering is first/second highest in Canada.
We're calling it first just to represent.
First,
the
Waterloo is first. Cut that out. Waterloo
Number
is
one.
first. How are you going through all of that with minimal social interaction? Okay, fine. This semester has been pretty good, to be honest. We've really been able to enjoy ourselves. But like before that, you also went to UG. But before that, now that I'm thinking about it, you probably did have a lot of fun. But before UG, how did you like? Was there something you said to yourself that made you like, yeah, I can get through this because of X, Y, Z? Or was there like an irritation within you that you were just like I want to...
Yeah. No, there'll definitely be points in uni where I'm like, yo, I think I'm going to fail this semester. Like, dead ass. I've even talked to Zaid. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. But
you got out of this
somehow
one.
you get out of this one. Like, never in my life before uni did I spend a whole night studying before a final. Take it. I've even slept.
for IB.
I've even slept in a final in uni, in the exam. Like,
Who was telling me about this now? That Adam or something was telling me about this.
what I was telling you, I slept in an exam, a final exam, for 30 minutes.
That's
I
crazy.
did question 1, I couldn't get it. I did question 2. Did question 2, couldn't get it. Did question 3, couldn't get it. The 3 questions. I said, I'm taking a nap. After 30 minutes, I woke up, did what I could, and left. And somehow I'm here.
That's crazy.
Thank God.
Do you ever ask yourself, because I always ask myself, how the fuck am I still in Waterloo 3 years in? Do you ever ask yourself
You know,
that?
there's.
I don't even know how I got
think
here.
I relate to it because there's like a few lucky breaks that have to happen.
Everybody needs them.
There's a
Everybody
few lucky
needs them.
breaks that have to happen. But in relation to COVID, how'd you cope with COVID studies online? Like the transition of it.
I actually
Did you-
love it. I love
Same.
studying online.
Same.
Why is
Here's
that?
the thing. When I'm in class,
Open book, bro.
everything's too focused and like for people like me, like I can't focus too long. I'm very distracted. As you can see from this podcast, I'm very distracted. But when it's online, I can take my own time and structure my day with however I want to do it, or like not even my day, my week. So if I want to go play basketball today, I'll skip the lecture. I'll just do it. Like for engineering especially, like our lectures were recorded, so I didn't actually have to attend much live. So that just helps me like spread out my week the way I want. If I need to do something, I'll be motivated to do like more lectures at once and then go do something, or like spread it out, you know. So at the end of the day, things will get done, and I'll also have fun while managing time, especially without commuting, because commuting is a hassle. And like with online, you don't have to like think about like.
Is that one where you wake up 5 minutes before your lecture?
Yeah, and then if you're middle of the lecture, you're not going to the lecture. But now if I wake up in the middle of a lecture, I just start my lecture late.
True.
I get
Taking
it
I
done.
only had one semester of lectures.
Then you went online?
No, my first semester I went to 3 lectures. My second semester I started taking it more seriously and went to more lectures. So I only had one semester of lectures.
That's crazy.
But no, speaking of what you just said, like there are benefits to COVID. I know like
Not
people will
benefits to
disagree.
COVID, but
Not
benefits,
benefits
to
of
setting
the
that we're in.
virus, but like
Silver linings of the situation that we're in, I think is a better way to say it.
I'm glad that I went through what I went through this COVID. For example, if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have gone back to Dubai when I went back to Dubai. When I went back to Dubai, I started boxing. And boxing has really like it's so cliche, but boxing has changed my life, dude. It really has, man. Like I live such a different lifestyle, and I'm so like I'm motivated in different ways, and you have to understand that boxing is not just 1-2-1-2. It's like it's a lifestyle. It's a motivation. It's a discipline. It's learning how to tell yourself no to this and yes to that, and you know what I mean.
And did that happen during the pandemic?
Yeah, I only started in July when I came back after the 3 months of being stuck here. That's when I started boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I was just playing football, hoping to someday get good enough to go pro.
Yeah.
Nah,
But-
but I can say that Hussein's a good boxing coach at least.
Boxing, I appreciate
I
it.
haven't seen him box like properly in a fight because it's coming soon. Hopefully, I don't
Come
know.
tomorrow, I have sparring tomorrow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Crunch or your kitchen?
No, my
gym?
Kitchener place.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, so see, like one way, so Hussein, you've responded to the pandemic is that you found a hobby for yourself.
But
And
you know what I went through to find this hobby? Like that 3 months, while I did enjoy myself towards the end, I was extremely irritable. And a couple episodes ago, we brought on Ben and Josh, and we spoke about like our dynamic and how during the COVID pandemic, me, Josh, and Ben had argued all the time, right?
Mhm.
And it wasn't just because like we had like a toxic dynamic. The toxic dynamic partly came from COVID. All 3 of us were stuck in places we didn't want to be in. Josh was stuck in Dubai and he really wanted to go back to Oxford. Ben was in Newcastle with his mom and he really wanted to do other things. And I was in Canada when I really wanted to go home. And it just turned us into really irritable people. And really irritable people who spend every waking hour together. I was always online speaking to them, like on the PlayStation. It gets to the point where you just piss each other off all the time, you know? And Ben and Josh, shout out, I love you guys, but you guys drove me crazy.
And you drove them crazy.
I drove them crazy too, equally, maybe even more than they drove me, no doubt. But like, they really pushed me to my limits, yo. To the point that like, by the time I got back to Dubai and like, I minimized contact. I didn't minimize contact with them because I did see them there, but it just meant that I wasn't speaking to them every day. I was like, okay, I can breathe. I can relax. And as soon as I went back, I wanted to kickstart everything. So I started boxing. I even did an internship. I did an internship. For reference, I'm a bum who doesn't do things. I did an internship.
You can't say that about yourself, man.
Regardless. But like, it just makes you want to hit the ground running. And once you have that, like, you've taken everything for granted and it was stripped away from you.
Yeah.
And now you have it back and you're just like, I'm going to give it everything. I'm going to give life everything I have, because when life was on pause, I will never forget how that feels, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So now when you're back, you're just like I will forever be grateful for the opportunities and the privileges that I have that I didn't have for that period of time. And
So
I'll never waste them again.
the
you know?
pandemic motivated you.
100%.
And boxing played a role,
100%.
right? The hobby that he had played a big role in motivating him, because that was a lot of the times people just need to find something that can drive their focus home in life. Like if you just get this one thing right, you know, you'll be focused on everything. For me, that's gym. If I go to the gym, I get my focus in the gym. If I'm very, very much in the zone, I hype myself up in the gym, I'm focused there, I can bring myself to focus on other stuff too. If my gym is all over the place, I'm all over the place.
What about Parth? What's your focus?
Yeah, so like you guys bring good points, and I think this is ties to like your interests and like how your interests can impact, like how COVID can impact your interests.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like for some people it may not be as bad, like if COVID hits in the summer or something, because like you could still go running, like you can go, like I used to like cycle a lot. I like cycling, so I could like explore places while cycling. But like if you're someone who like gym is your passion, that gets shut down, you know.
That was tough.
That's a
That
tough
was
thing. You know, but like if someone else, like if you have other interests like that align with like the consequences of COVID, it may not be as bad to that person, you know.
But then
So-
that's just about adapting. At that point, you have to just adapt to your circumstance and be like, okay, gym's shut down or whatever shut down.
Yeah.
What next can I replace
But
it
I'm
with?
saying for the people who are already, whose interests already line with those other things,
Okay.
for them it's not as hard. They don't need to adapt. They already have something that's not taken through COVID.
Understood.
So for some people it's harder because like what their interests are taken. Like I don't know, like there's so many things that people have hobbies that are indoors that maybe have taken like bowling or something, right? But like people have activity who like enjoy activities like outdoors, like biking, running, skiing, all these things.
Does that describe you?
I think I have a lot of outdoor activities, but that also comes from where I come from. Because like Kampala, like the weather there is always like summer weather, so like when you grow up, you're just used to those kind of activities. That's why I didn't even like game much as a kid. But like when COVID hit, I had to start gaming more,
yeah.
just to
Fair.
connect to people.
Facts, fair enough. Yeah, and it just like I think at the beginning of the pandemic, kind of it was like a curve. So we hit a hard point in a curve, and it was tough for us. And then when it came down, it started becoming easier and easier as we continued to adapt more and more to, to the pandemic in and of itself. I remember, when in the beginning of the pandemic, everybody got sick and everybody thought like they were having COVID.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh please.
Everybody thought they had COVID. Everybody was sick and testing wasn't widely available, so you couldn't even get a test.
Speaking of people driving me crazy, Zayd drove me so crazy with this. Ya Allah, don't. Oh my God, no. Actually,
What?
every 5 days he'll come to me. Saying I was in contact with somebody who was in contact with somebody who was in contact with somebody who coughed. Go get a COVID test. Don't leave your house.
Was I not being responsible?
Don't leave your house for 17 weeks, and stay home. And when you die, inshallah, you can come out of your house.
No, but that's a good point because I think anxiety.
And it's kind of
Escalated with
annoying
COVID.
when you have an extremely anxious person and a person who does not care. Like,
That is a big point. I think that is such a big point for like housing, especially with
and
roommates.
yeah, we're stuck in the house together.
Exactly.
The whole time.
exactly.
That dynamic actually is like was such a big problem when COVID hit. Like there's so many people, like I have friends also who are in similar situations in Waterloo or like elsewhere where their housing dynamic was so different. Where some people in the house were super anxious, while others were like a bit more lenient with it. But due to that difference, coming to a compromise was so hard because it's such a thing
Who do you let in the
where
house?
who's right and
Yeah.
who's wrong.
Who do you let in the house? How do you live? Who do you make contact with? What's your social circle like?
Obviously, you have to follow like the official guidelines of like the government and everything.
Yeah.
But even those guidelines have some like vagueness in them, where like some things may
Like if
seem,
it's under 10 people, are you comfortable with 3 people or are you comfortable with 7?
yeah,
right,
and then
like-
some people are not comfortable with the people you want to be comfortable with. Like
Right.
if your roommate doesn't
And
like
you
this
just have
person
to learn to
or
really
doesn't
just
trust.
respect that, like
Yeah.
if somebody's like, yo, I'm not comfortable with you coming to my house, you'd have to just be like fair enough,
Yeah,
And you can't harbor resentment or hard feelings or anything. You
Which
just-
otherwise could have been like a cultural issue. Like why won't I come to your house? Is there something going on? Like now it's like whatever. You
Yeah.
know, you have a valid reason.
to this day, like even like family gatherings have like become less often just because like
No,
especially-
so families in third culture countries, I use that because there's no better term, but if I have families in third culture countries, I don't think they cared that much.
There
Depends
are certain,
which.
especially for example, like we have family friends that are older in age. These are ones you have to watch out for. It's not an issue of paranoia or anything. It's an issue of science, right? Like you go see your family less because they're older, obviously. You know. I completely forgot about this. During the pandemic, I also had to go and basically live in lockdown in Jordan for a month.
What? That happened?
That did happen.
I didn't know
I
about this.
completely forgot
I
myself.
don't even know
man.
about this.
But I spent October of 2020 in Jordan, doing nothing. Genuinely, like all I did was like I drove my grandparents around like place X, place Y, whatever, go to the doctor, get pharmacy, whatever. Other than that, I am at home. I gained weight. Couldn't exercise. I couldn't do nothing again. And honestly, now that I think of it, that was probably the worst like month of.
Talk about how
lockdown
that
was.
experience affected your mental health.
It really didn't. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have a soft story. I'm sorry, I don't have a soft story. It didn't. I just almost failed a couple more courses because I was.
No, but you
in
were
another
stressed. Like it was stressing you the fact that you were there and stuck there and you couldn't.
country. I really wasn't, bro. I was so happy. I
No.
was so happy. I was happy to see like because
You were stressed academically.
I spent academically, yes, but I spent another month with my grandparents, who I love very much. I was very happy, like genuinely, like I know, like that's like a grandson thing to say, but I was really, really like just felt wholesome to be with them, you know, like serving
But
them,
then,
whatever.
didn't the lack of proactiveness like bother you? Because like I know you're super active.
100%. But like and I feel like at that month I actually matured a lot because that's when like I finally convinced myself it's okay to give up some luxuries in life for a greater cause. For example, in October when I went to Jordan, my friends were still in Dubai, all of them. They were still going out all the time, and I was never involved in these activities because I was not around. My best friend Ben, who was like we were training together at the gym, he was still training and going ahead in his progression, and I was just stable, you know. It was like at the beginning, no, at the beginning it was just like damn, like I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't whatever, and then you realize, okay, here's where we mature, here's where we grow up. We can't do these things. I can't go out with my friends. I can't train. I can't do this. I can't do that. But why? Why? Because I was helping my grandparents out. Like they needed some.
I thought you sacrificed.
You know, and it just like more than anything, I just learned being a man is more
Not
than
being a
just
man, no,
being an adult,
being a
being
good
an adult.
person, like in general, because it applies to everybody, right? It's not
Yeah.
just men, right?
Yeah, it means giving up some good things in your life to do something greater
For others.
to benefit yourself or society in a greater way. For example, that's what started my wave of evolution, and progression, and that's why I got a job when I came back to Dubai. Like it had like a snowball effect of making me want to just finally grow up. I think it's safe to say, like everyone here can agree, I grew up quite late, like maturity wise.
No, I think it took you a minute to get uncomfortable. But everybody just grows when they get uncomfortable.
To get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I think you felt you're late because you're chilling with like older people too.
So you're always.
I really like that a lot of my friends are older.
No,
to be
so
honest.
So I feel like
let
that
me
makes you
explain
feel
another
that.
dynamic to you. Let me explain another dynamic to you quickly. We get sidetracked, but when you chill with older people, you don't see them when they were at your stage in life how they were. You see them now when they have their things 1% more put together. People, you're comparing yourself like, oh, why am I not doing X, Y, Z? Why am I not paying my own rent? Why am I not whatever?
That was a huge problem.
People. When we were your age, we had similar issues, and it took us time to get things under our belt, and especially because we're in like in a co-op program, we make money that way, and you're not, right? Like it's a different dynamic for everybody. So don't be judging yourself in that, especially in a pandemic. Like things got messed up for everybody, and everybody needed help,
100%,
right?
100%.
That's why do you think Trudeau sent out God knows how many CERB checks for everybody, right?
CERB is like payments for employees who had to lose their jobs and stuff.
Yeah. So I quickly also I want to touch on.
Hold on, sorry. So we talked about like me sacrificing during the pandemic. Parth, I don't know if this is like something you want to talk about or not, but like you also had a similar experience. I don't know if you want to talk about it. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I know what you're going with, but yeah.
Like with your father.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, what happened there? How did you
Sacrifice?
What happened and how did you deal with it? What sacrifices did you make and how did it teach you X, Y, Z?
Like COVID wise.
And did the
There's something you told me on the bus about what's it called? Would you visit your parents often? And you said yes because you know, and like just talk about
And
that.
how does the pandemic play into all that? Like because I think it impacted your situation too, right?
Yeah, so basically when I was able to go back to Uganda, this was like the last Christmas, I think. So I went back to Uganda and I thought I was just going there for like a vacation, like just for like a couple of weeks and I'm back. But then Ontario went in lockdown and they had this whole thing about quarantine and all that. So I had to extend. I was doing co-op online in Uganda, so with the company I was able to like continue working there. So I was like, fine, I'll work here because even like the response of COVID in the country and the way people treat COVID was different. And like I was just happier there because of the way, like there's less anxiety there. But eventually, like anyways, so although I was like happier there were still like things happening in my life which, you know, were not the best. And like my dad also had some issues like with his heart and stuff, which you have to get like surgery and stuff for. And like healthcare is not the best in Uganda, but like now COVID plays a role when you're thinking about healthcare. Do we treat him in Uganda or do we take him to another country where there's a risk of COVID? Ideally, we'd want to take him to India at that time, but COVID in India was crazy. So bad that like that would be a worse option because by then like no one was vaccinated and all that. So it was like even a worse idea to take him there just because of the risk of that. And it's very stressful when someone's like in the hospital and COVID's still around. Because if, like the doctors would even say, if he gets COVID, that's like a whole other complication.
But it's inevitable in a lot of places.
Exactly. And so you have to like, that creates a whole other anxiety where it's like, please don't get COVID, you know? Like hopefully he doesn't, but like you like when you're in like ICU and stuff, like they don't let anyone come in. So there you have to be like super safe. And now when things like this happen, I have to also be super safe for his safety. Like the way you were saying, you know, I have to be safe sometimes for other people. So that also came into play.
Right.
It
You live in a
teaches you
more
to be unselfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know like there was a lot of experiences that I went through like during that time, where I did like crazy things just to like it was a lot of grown up things too, like, you know, and experiences that you can only get in countries like that where you have to like drive behind an ambulance in like crazy traffic, and people try to cut you in and all that. There's the craziest driving I've done in my life, and like you're like the hospital will tell you there's no blood, and then you have to drive to a blood bank, and then with connections, and then they're like, yeah, we have this since like yesterday, and you're like, what is going on in the system, you know?
right.
Yeah, but you have to deal with that kind of healthcare because of the situation.
Understand.
But thankfully, like, although his complications like went for a while and like that we had to deal with all that, eventually he got better, and like we were able to take him to India and get all that fixed, and now he's healthy right now, thankfully.
Thankfully, yeah, for sure.
But like that whole experience like changed my life too, like the way the COVID impacted, and also just the way that situation impacted me, you know? Although like the things I had to do for my family were crazy.
So what's your advice then for maybe if somebody who's in a similar situation as you, where there's like a medical complication during the pandemic or some urgent issue, and they have to just do whatever they can to deal with it? What do you tell them?
You just have to be there for your family. I was so glad that my whole like the best thing that happened to us was our whole family was there. Me, my sister, my mother, and my dad were in the same country when that happened, because it's so hard to take like that all that responsibility. Like the main thing me and my sister were trying to do was take off some of the responsibility from my mom, because it takes a big toll to take care of someone in a hospital. Like I've never seen that in person until that situation arose, and it was a really hard time for my mom, because even like 2 weeks before that, her mom passed away in Canada.
God rest her soul.
And she wasn't able to come to Canada because of COVID. So she was already like down bad, and now like things just kept happening, and she had to keep dealing with them. But if me and my sister weren't there, it would be like super hard for her to do that. Like
So you say like try to get to your loved ones, basically. Get to them
sometimes
somehow.
it's better to be with your to be with your loved ones in situations like that is crucial. It is so crucial. That's what I was telling, like when Hussein was asking me like why am
I
I
thought this
so,
was really like a really beautiful thing from him to say, by the way.
why he was asking me why is it like what's motivating me to go back as well, right? And I was like,
No, the question I asked was
Get closer to the mic.
the question I asked was we were talking about going back home, obviously, because I was discussing booking my ticket, and I was just like, I'm very lucky that I haven't gotten to the stage of my life where I'm just like, I'll see my parents when I see them. I'm not that stressed about it. I'm always just like, I want to see my parents. I want to see my parents. But I asked Parth, because obviously he's older. I was like, have you ever reached that stage where you're like, honestly, I don't care when I see my parents. So I'll just see them eventually. And then what Parth said, he was like, after like what happened with my father and all of that, like I realized like I really, really do not want to take for granted when I'm next going to be with my entire family, when we're all going to be in the same country, in the same house, whatever it may be. So I always make it a point whenever I get the chance, I want to be with my family, I want to be with my parents, I want to see my father, whatever. You know, and it's just like, it goes to show that it doesn't matter how old you are. If your values are right, your values are right. And if you're like, if you have a good heart, you have a good heart. And it's just, like, I don't know, it's something that made me smile. It warmed my heart, like, to hear something like that.
Of course. And Parth is the kind of guy who sacrifices a lot for his family and stuff, for his loved ones too, his friends. Like, and we expected, like, as soon as things happened, you know, Parth made sure that he was available, he was there. And I think his advice is to everybody, make sure you try to be, even if you can't be in person, be as available as you can to your loved ones and your family, right?
exactly.
Contrast that with my experience. So basically, hold on a second, yeah. So basically, when your father had that complication, you were there in Uganda.
Yeah.
So without getting too much into it, you know, my family also caught COVID all at once back home, right? All together, because they were staying in the same house, and we were here in this country in Canada, and they were in UAE and they caught it, and we felt so helpless. And a number of my family members' conditions got so bad that like you feel helpless, actionless, that you sitting here like 10,000 God knows how many miles away and you can't do anything. So we try our best to make ourselves available, call, whatever, make sure at least we're giving you company, support, showing you that you have us as supports. And it was so tough. So it was a big blessing that you were there for your family, but I think what me and you did is we just made ourselves as available as possible.
And you know,
and that was what was
this
rewarding.
sounds crazy. Not that crazy, but like this sounds like not something that a normal person would say. I feel like, because yeah, again, without going into much detail, like our family members, very close family members, were in like critical condition and it wasn't looking good. And then suddenly it just started to miraculously turn around for a number of my family members. And I attribute that to my relationship with God.
Allah subhanahu wa
And
ta'ala.
our relationship with God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, I never prayed more or prayed harder in my life. And I was just like Allah,
It gives
please,
you a
please,
reason.
like, exactly. And to see like I poured my heart out into my prayers and I just like every day just Allah, please save them. Next thing you know, they're better. They're out of the ICU. They're walking. Their like lungs are working back to normal. Like, and it's just like, and I can't shake the feeling that Allah, God is sending me a message like see what happens when you worship me and you pray to me and I'll give you what you need, And it's just, I don't know, like that moment for me, like when I started to see them get better, I was just like, my relationship with God is like the one thing that I will never ever lose. Ever.
It just sometimes shows you God will come to you when you like, even if He knows better than you don't know well enough to go to Him every time. He'll bring about a circumstance that will make you come to Him. I want to quickly touch on too one part of COVID that affected me, I think, more than you guys. Losing control of your situation, not being able to predict.
I can attest to Zaid when Zaid was in Dubai. He got to a point when we're in Dubai. Bear in mind.
Before that.
Yeah.
Right. So, in general, I'm the kind of person who I don't like to give up control of my situation to anybody. My family, my friends, my circumstance, people around me. If they have something to say, I don't want to hear it. Like, there's that instinct first. I have to first then condition myself to go and listen to somebody's advice. And so with COVID, now things become uncertain. Now things are about to get shut down in March, and my family's telling me, get your ticket and come home. It just felt like somebody was taking control from me, away from me at that moment. It's an irrational feeling, right? Or it's not irrational, but it's counterproductive to reality, let's say, right? So I recognize that, but I can't help it. No, don't take control from me. I'll decide when I want to come back. Right? And that kind of measured approach didn't work and we got stuck in Canada as a result, right? More than that too, like things change all the time. The government changes their requirements and stuff, and they changes their rules, lockdown restrictions, everything. They keep swapping their rulings on that, and you can't predict. You saw it like with our semester, we were supposed to have an in-person semester. Omicron happened. Now we have an online semester, right? You can't really predict what's gonna happen in the future. So my whole thing was I was unable to come to terms with that reality. I couldn't make decisions. Like, it was very hard for me to make decisions like at certain points on what to do, not because one outcome was more challenging than the other, but because I couldn't come face to face with the fact that whatever I chose, something was going to go wrong because it was just the nature of the pandemic, right? That, I think, encapsulated itself when I first wanted to go to the UAE. I didn't want to go. People were telling me, oh, you should go, whatever. My family was trying to get me to go back. Zaid, you need a break. Your mental health is suffering in Canada. I didn't want to hear it because I was like, why are you deciding for me, Which was counterproductive to reality because I actually should have taken in their advice, but because I felt like I was relinquishing control. Oh, what if I go to the UAE and I get stuck? What if I go there and I can't get what I need in terms of academic focus? What if I go there? Like, all these things were on my mind and I couldn't face myself to go back. So I didn't end up going back. But eventually when I got the courage and slowly decided that let's go, decision worked. But then I faced it just keeps coming up in the pandemic. When I got to the UAE, then I was pushing to go back, and my family was missed me. They wanted to spend time with me, but I was like, no, why are you, like the irrationality of, no, stop controlling, like, you know what I mean? Stop trying to control me. That's what I was thinking of, that they were trying to do, when actually they were just trying to come to me with love and just trying to tell me that, oh, we miss you and we know that this is good for you. Spend time with us here, I think is their advice. And I pushed that. And sure enough, they ended up letting me leave and come back to Canada. Now again, I think you guys really saw it in the past couple of days when we were contemplating whether or not we want to go home to visit our family before the restrictions kick in. I didn't want... I was okay, because the plan was always, stay in Canada. But now that this has now come up and Omicron is here and the variant and whatever, the restrictions put forward a situation where I had to make a decision that, am I going back to spend that time with my family and figuring myself out after, at least just to get a month with my family, right? Or am I just staying in Canada and bearing the full brunt of isolation here in the lockdown by myself? All my friends are traveling to their home countries, right? I couldn't even make a decision. Hussein comes to my room and asks me, what are you going to do? Because Hussein decided he wants to follow what I was doing, because he was like, you're the one who's been the furthest away from home for the longest out of the two of us, so you decide if we want to go or not. He come into my room and he asked me, Zaid, have you decided? I tell him, I don't know. And Zaid, when are you going to decide? I don't know. Zaid, are you going to decide? I don't know. You know what I mean?
I'm not just being a nag. It was a time-sensitive decision.
Right? Like,
so I was trying to press him to make his decision. But yeah, anyways.
The best advice that I would have for somebody who can't...
Before that, notice though, through what you said, like, verdict was, we did book tickets and we did go back. Notice how through what you said, you've proven yet again, like in COVID, we've started to learn from our mistakes.
But really the same feeling comes up over and over again.
No, but you made the mistake in 2020 of not going back, of booking the ticket too late because you didn't want to relinquish control and all that. But this time, of course, you had the same feeling that you didn't want to relinquish control. But once, you gave yourself a day to think about it, and you just came to the decision that, you know what, this time, I'm gonna listen to my family. My family,
I had to fight my instinct.
Of course,
we're filming this podcast, and I have a sick feeling in my gut. I had to fight my instinct. You understand? It's an irrational instinct, and you have to just take yourself out of your own body and look at yourself and be like, this is being your thought process is against what's going to be productive for you in terms of the best outcome for you and your family, right? My advice to anybody who is struggling with that, who likes to have control of their circumstance, who likes to feel like they're in charge of their situation, in COVID, honestly, it's okay. Ride the wave. Imagine yourself as a surfer. You're surfing this wave. You can't predict exactly which way the wave is going to go, but you can use your expertise as a surfer to surf the wave, right? You can make a decision. So I made a decision to go home. You can make a decision and have a contingency plan for every risk that can come. And some risks might come that you might not have a contingency plan for, and you account for that. Say, okay, maybe that's the case, but that's the case whatever I do. So in this context of what I know and what I'm able to check, this is the best decision for me, right? So in my situation, it looked like, but if I need to go home, I bought a flexible ticket. So I can change my ticket if I need to go home quickly. If I need to, figure myself out, whatever, I can change that. If I need to delay my flight, I can change that. If I need to change my destination, I can, I've contingency planned for my contingency plans. So my idea is control what you can. And if you need to go have plan B's and C's, B's and C's and D's and stuff, do that. But control what you can control. Leave the rest to God. Leave the rest to life to figure out. And, honestly, I'm sorry I went on for a while about this, but this is just a very personal thing to me that it was it affected me deeply. You know what I mean? But yeah, with that being said, that's basically in our response to a pandemic, that's basically how we responded to the pandemic, and how we went through it, navigated through it. It was a tough time for all of us. And we want to say just quickly that it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to be unsure and uncertain. But, just knowing that life goes on and things always get better and brighter, It's a pandemic. It might last a few years, but it'll pass. At the end of the day, it's not forever, So please keep faith in that. And hopefully we'll one day see the day of this pandemic passing. We can go back to a normal life.
Normally,
what is a normal life?
We don't even know at this point, huh?
Normally, at the end of every podcast, we ask our guest to to give a piece of advice to the listener about whatever that we were talking about. I will ask you that, but I also have a piece of advice I want to give myself. And it's just plain and simple. Don't take anything for granted. Never take anything for granted. That's what COVID has taught me. Not only COVID, tearing my ACL in COVID. That's what that's taught me. Never take anything for granted. Because when I had all that taken away from me, now that I'm like in a position where I have a lot more freedom, I go so much harder. Just because I'm like remember when you were in bed and you couldn't get up, and you couldn't go out, you couldn't train, you couldn't get food, you couldn't whatever. Now look at where you are. Are you really gonna waste the health that you have? Are you really gonna waste the freedom that you have? Or are you gonna do something about it? And that's like COVID has really made me realize how much time I waste and how much of my potential and how much of myself I waste. And COVID is what has taught me to become more productive, to become more grateful just for everything that I have. You know, I've been saying this for a very long time now, for a couple of months. I'm just so grateful. When I'm in a bad situation, I'm still grateful. If I'm in an amazing situation, I'm grateful. Point is, never take anything for granted and never lose your gratitude for what you have and everything that's in your life, you know? But that's me. P Money.
That's well said. What I'm gonna say is, I'll just say take what you have and make the best out of it, you know, and live your life. Live your life. Like
one life gives you lemons.
Honestly, like it's good to look into the future of the things you like want to do and achieve and all that. Like the world we live in right now, everyone's thinking career and thinking so far ahead. But sometimes take a break from that and
think about next week.
Yeah, think about today. Think about right now, the moment. What you want to achieve right now, like what your heart tells you, just in the moment, like how you feel. You know, if you're happy where you are, like just continue being happy. Like don't stress about what's gonna come. You need to learn how to find a balance between that.
Actually, you know what? It's interesting you say that because today, actually, I think is a very good example of that. So today, we basically know a lockdown is looming. We know we're not going to be in the country for much longer. So instead of like grunting and moaning about like, oh, we're not going to be here, oh, COVID, oh, lockdown, or whatever, you know, what did we do? I got out of bed. I came to Parth's house. We went to the post office, and then we went to the mall. Spent like 3 hours in the mall. I went to training because it's going to be one of the last times I can train here before it closes. Zaid went to the gym, came back, filmed this podcast, made the most. I literally made the absolute most out of the day. We had such a good time, and we just did not think about the problems looming ahead. Even though, like, okay, we had to make tough decisions with booking our tickets and whatnot, but like we really did we had a good day today, you know.
Yeah, we did. No, today was a good day for sure, and it's an example. It's exemplified how we dealt with the uncertainty of it all. I think today. With that being said, P Money, any shout outs? Anyone you want to shout out? Big up? Any, you know, this your time. Whatever you want to plug, whatever you want to shout out.
Yo, shout out to everyone else who's been on this show. You know, all the guests, man like Bilal, Isabella, and
who are the other two?
Other three.
Three. But
the
three.
The
Cut that out.
The man from UK.
Man from UK, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the rest that deeply.
Yeah.
Khalid. Oh yeah, we played pool with that guy.
We recorded the episode in your house.
Oh yeah,
you were there.
That's fact. No, yeah. Well, who was the first one with? Oh, you two.
Yeah, just us two.
Shout out to these guys, the Kashif brothers. You know,
My God,
stressing my life every day, but you know, they're still good at heart. So that's what's important, you know.
Shout out to peoples in Uganda. Who do you want to shout out in Uganda?
Yo, so many people in Uganda, yo. Too many to name. Shout out my parents, my sister. You know, first of all, you gotta shout out your family.
Shout out Mama, Baba, Mush Mush.
Okay.
Shout out Mush Mush, yo. That guy's a G.
Have
you seen your videos?
Yeah.
Parth has seen loads of videos about Mush Mush. However, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the Young Nations Nevermind.
Before we continue, can I post for the thumbnail one time of the video? You know, because put on YouTube. All right. With that
being said, thank you for. I'm gonna steal the show here.
Go ahead, take it.
With that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the Young Nations podcast, where we are podcasting and we are the Young Nation. We really appreciated having you here, and we will continue to hopefully have you here in the near future and inshallah in the far future. And it was really good having. I feel like a radio host. Parth,
you're going for the sake of rambling.
My guy.
Young Nation, Man born in 2003. Young nation.
I know disrespect.
Let's
2001.
go.
January 2001. January 2001.
My
Basically,
youngins.
99
basically
baby.
2000. And 2000 basically means
That's enough
1999.
sorted, that's
So I was born in the 30s, basically.
Basically a youngin.
Yeah, you're a child. But yeah, with that being said, thank you very much for tuning in, for listening. Yeah.